Chagiga Daf Tes, amazing daf. We start with the Mishnah, which talks about two different ideas. The first one, the idea of Tashlumin. What are you supposed to do if, let's say, you weren't able to bring the Shalmei Chagiga on the first day? Can you bring it over the course of Chag, on the second day, third day, etc.? Or is the concept of Tashlumin, one approach is that you can only do Tashlumin for the first day and any other day, which is, the Mishnah says that you can do Tashlumin for the Chagiga on any other day of Chag. So does that mean that you can only do Tashlumin the first day for any other day, or does it mean that you can do Tashlumin for any day? For example, if you do want to do Tashlumin the third day for the fourth or the fifth, that's also fine. That's a machlokes in the Gemara. Then we move on to talk about meuvas lo yuchal liskon, that certain things, meaning if you forget to do, if you didn't bring the Karban Chagiga at all over Chag, you cannot bring it afterwards. Like you miss your chance. And then it brings a pasuk, meuvas lo yuchal liskon, something broken can't be fixed. Mechusar lo yuchal lihi manos, and something missing cannot be counted. More on that later in the Gemara. So we open up the Gemara by talking about, the concept of bringing Chagiga on Shmini Atzeres, right? Because we said that you can bring a Tashlumin any other day of Chag. So who says you can bring it on Shmini Atzeres? We have a Gzeir Shava. The pasuk says, I think it's Rishon, Atzeres. It says the word Atzeres by Pesach, and it says the word Atzeres by Sukkot, which says that just like in Karban Pesach you could bring on other days, so too on Sukkot you can bring another Karban Pesach, the Chagiga. Just like the Chagiga can bring any other day on Pesach, so too you can do so on Sukkot. Or there's another pasuk that says V'chodesh hashvi techogu oso. It says on the 7th month you should celebrate it. You have the whole Chodesh Shvi, but then it says the word oso. We darshan from that pasuk that you can bring the Chagiga also on Shmini Atzeres. The next thing we talk about is machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Sheshes, which is when we say that you can bring the Chagiga, you can do Tashlumin, does that mean only on the first day, like Rabbi Yochanan says, if you miss the first day? So Rabbi Yochanan says you can only bring Chagiga on the first day, you can only do Tashlumin for the first day for the remaining days. So if you were a Chiger, let's say you were injured for the first day, and then the second day you recovered, I guess you have superhuman recovery, then you do not need to do Tashlumin. Why? Because on the first day you were ineligible to to bring the Chagiga, right? Remember we said the other day that you're chayav to do never mind that. But so that's one thing Rabbi Yochanan says, and then we bring up another brisa where Rabbi Yochanan seems to say the opposite when we're talking about a Nazir, right? Because the Gemara says that there's a Nazir who became impure on one day, and then 7 days later he became impure again. So Rabbi Yochanan says if he became impure the night before, then he does not bring a karban. Rather, he waits another 8 days. It's a little bit hard to explain, but Rabbi Yochanan says he still brings for the first one, and then he brings for the second one 7 days later. Seems to be a stira in the two Rabbi Yochanan. So we answer it by saying now basically Nazir is different than a Chiger b'Yom Rishon, someone who was handicapped for the first day. Whether you could say Tuma is different because there's a concept of Pesach Sheni, which means that it's like a whole other holiday altogether when you do Tashlumin. Or you can say that Laila is not Mechusar Zman, meaning even though you're not chayav on the, even though you can't physically bring the karban at night, you're still, that's when the chiyuv begins. More on that, you got to go into the Gemara. I don't want to explain too much. But then we move on to some really cool stuff. We talk about pasuk meuvas lo yuchal liskon. So famous din by Bar Hehe, right? Famous Miami Boys Choir song. Amar le Bar Hehe le Hillel. He asks Hillel. Bar Hehe is a ger, and he says it shouldn't use the word meuvas lo yuchal liskon. That one's fine, but then mechusar, something missing, lo yuchal lihi manos. That's what the pasuk says. So the song says lihi manos. It shouldn't say lihi manos. Lihi malos mi ba'ilei. It should really say something missing can't be filled. It's not there, so you're never going to fill it. It can't be counted. How could you count something that's missing? So he says, Ella, what are we talking about when your friends are trying to bring you to do a Devar Mitzvah? That's what we're talking about here. When your friends are being counted to do a mitzvah and you are nowhere to be seen. Even though there's a mitzvah you could do by yourself on your own time, there is no comparison to when you have the chance to do it with the chevra, with the friends, and that's the message of the song, which is beautiful. Then just because we have one Bar Hehe line, we're going to give you two more, bonus. Another one is he's talking with Eliyahu, and Eliyahu tells him, the pasuk says, I wrote it down here, pasuk says, Yesh B'Shavtem, this is Malachi, like in the Achros HaYamim, B'Shavtem Merisan Ben Tzadik L'Rasha Ben Oved Elohim Le'asher, etc., etc. So why does it say Tzadik? And it says Oved Elohim. What's the difference between a Tzadik and Oved Elohim? So Eliyahu tells him, no, this is not, this is still Bar Hey asking Hillel, and then Hillel responds to him. The difference is, although they're both very good people, in one instance the guy learned the Gemara 100 times, and in one instance he learned the Gemara 101 times, which you cannot compare someone who does Chazar 100 times to someone who does Chazar 101 times. And I'd be remiss if I didn't read to you this post-it on my wall, which says, when nothing seems to help, I go and look at a stonecutter hammering away at his rock, perhaps 100 times, without as much as a crack in it. Yet at the 101st blow, it will split in two, and I know it was not that last blow that did it, but all that had gone before. So to answer your question of what's the difference between 100 times and 101 times, the entire world, my friend, is the difference, which is amazing. The third Bar Hehe idea is that Eliyahu came to him and basically said, Hine tzarafticha v'lo v'chesef b'charticha. This is a pasuk in Yeshaya, which means basically the pasuk says the best thing that I'm giving you, Am Yisrael, is bachor ani. I'm choosing poverty. The best thing for a Jew is poverty. Why? Because more money, more problems. There's your reference there. Beautiful. Rav Shimon Nasya in the Mishnah says, "Move as yuchol litakin." What does that refer to? A mamzer. Because once you have illicit relations and you create a mamzer, there's nothing you can do about it. It can't be fixed. Then we have another brisa which says, when Rabbi Shimon Nasya himself says this, what's he referring to? He says there's only a case where you have illicit relationships. In general, he doesn't specify if there's a mamzer. So what's the difference between the two? You say, well, maybe it refers to if you have relations with a married woman, then that's considered to be something you can't fix. But if she's unmarried, then technically you can do tshuva and she's fine. Or you can say this is an ones v'ratzon. If it's non-consensual, then it's an onus, and therefore that's repairable damage. But if it was willing, then it's irreparable damage. Or you can say Bas Yisrael versus Bas Kohen. Basically, in certain instances, you've done so much damage that it cannot be fixed. And this concludes Chagiga Daf Test. Sorry it was a little bit long, but in my opinion, well worth it. Have an amazing day.